What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Fanalysis 101. I'm your host, the one and only RockinMrMagic, Magic for short. With me is the homie GB, Greg Burnham.
Good evening.
Good evening, greetings and salutations.
Couldn't think of anything cool, so I just went with the standard.
Standard is good, but we ain't standard here on Fanalysis 101. We who are more than just fans, avid fans, former collegiate players, people who have a vested interest in the games that we've played and sports that we are passionate about. And on this episode, we are going to have a good time. We've got a top 20 list I want Greg to respond to, and we're going to talk about the retirement of a all-time great. But first, we have to express our condolences on behalf of this show, on behalf of all of Jeek Nation. We want to express our condolences to the families of former NBA players Junior Bridgeman and Oliver Miller. If you have never heard of Junior Bridgman, he is a man you should have heard of, because there's only four former players who have been billionaires: Mike, Magic, Bron, and also Junior Bridgman. And of the $1 billion Junior Bridgman amassed, only $3 million came from his playing contract. He has a fantastic story. You should look up his story if you have any interest in learning or being inspired by taking what you have gained and utilizing your assets, utilizing your skill, your passion, your drive to grow exponentially in any way, whether it be business or whatever you apply yourself and your skills to.
Yeah, man. And there's a possibility that you may have even eaten at one of his establishments, because he owned over 100 like Wendy's and what was that? Was it Chili's or TGI?
TGI Fridays, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like so he owned a lot of restaurants. Chili's. Chili's.
Chili's, yeah.
Did stuff with Coca-Cola. Like he's like, it's one of the rare cases as somebody who's been trying to know everything about basketball all my life that I know more about him from his business acumen than I do from his like playing career.
Right.
And he was a good player too.
And he was a good player. He wasn't no bum. Yeah.
Yeah.
And like some people have heard about like Jamal Mashburn being successful as a restaurant franchisor. And even Vinnie Johnson has made so much more money off the court as a businessman than on the court. But Junior is the one who really, really did it big.
At the time, like coming from a time where you weren't making any money, like playing professional basketball.
Yeah, he made $3 million in 12 seasons, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's yeah. So I mean, that means that he's going in and learning, like really digging in and learning the business, not just throwing some money at something, in order, and not having the platform that like guys like Michael Jordan and LeBron have, Magic, who are like household names, and they sell tons of merchandise and
based off of name alone.
Yeah, this was business.
And to add to that, like Magic was able to make a lot of money. People that, if you don't know, Magic Johnson's made a lot of money doing franchises himself. Magic Theaters, Magic owns, I think he still owns some Starbucks restaurants, but Magic was able to learn that because he's Magic Johnson. He was able to ask executives and say, "Hey, can I sit in on your meetings and listen and learn?" And people are like, "Yeah, I'll have Magic Johnson in the room, sure."
Not to mention, like he came to LA, he was best friends with Jerry Buss.
Right.
So Jerry had a concentrated effort in teaching Magic about business. Remember the 25-year, $25 million?
25-year the 25-year contract.
Which now it sounds like nothing, but when they said that, it's like, what?
That's a lot, yeah. but my point is, Junior Bridgman did not have that cachet. He didn't have the name where he could just use his name to get inside a boardroom to listen and learn.
Right.
He really had to put that work in that education, and so his story is a testament. And honestly, within the next year or two, there needs to be a 40 minute to an hour special
Yeah.
documentary about Junior Bridgman because it's overdue and well deserved. If you were not present for Oliver Miller's coming out party with the Phoenix Suns in pretty much 1992-93 season,
Yeah.
the year that the Suns went to the finals against the Bulls, you missed some of the best. When I say big, not tall, big as in wide, big man. We're talking about a guy who got suspended when he was a member of my Detroit Pistons because he was tipping the scales because he was so overweight. We're talking about a tall, wide man. Uh, I think he was playing. Now they said he was about 280, but reality
You
is
running 280 in college. Like,
the reality was probably he was probably 300, and
man.
I think then that's when he was like lighter playing in Phoenix, and I think he probably topped off, man, probably 380 when he was in
Yeah.
Detroit and he was cheating the scales. He got himself really big, but if you missed that run where we're talking about a hyper athletic, big, wide dude,
Nimble.
Nim-
Like,
nimble and agile. The agility and nimbleness that such a wide body had, the elevation he had, cat like quick. Like if you think of a taller Robert Tractor Trailer, but better touch around the rim, longer arms, just overall more athletic. He was just a if he could have stayed healthy and just healthy as far as on keeping his weight under control,
mhm.
he really could have had a nice stretch in the league. But um, big, Big Oliver liked to eat and did not like to work out, and unfortunately, he just continued to get bigger and bigger. And while the talent was there, he had flashes of it. He just got so big that he could not be effective,
Yeah.
unfortunately. But if you saw his peak, you witnessed something really special.
Remember him at Arkansas, man. Like, that's still it wasn't one of my favorite teams. Like, as far as I love them, but they were a really good team. And he was right there. He kind of came out of nowhere with it, but he was big, a rebound, really good touch around the goal. Also, he was a pretty solid passer. Like,
Yes,
I don't like if y'all Google his assist numbers and it's like point one a game or something. That's not what I'm talking about. I mean, like getting the ball where it's supposed to go.
great court vision.
Yeah.
The
So
ball was in his hands a lot to have the high assist numbers, but talking about making the right pass, the extra pass, threading the needle, fantastic court vision, just a really talented player.
yeah, a guy like that, I could see like in today's age, if he was able to get the weight somewhat down. I'm not saying he's Joker, but I am saying that like that hub kind of player where you can put the ball in his hands, anywhere inside the 3-point line, and he can make stuff happen with it. He was that kind of guy.
Right.
He would
Didn't
be
ha-
fun.
didn't have didn't have Joker's range or anything like that,
No, no, no.
but around the basket, you're not stopping him. Like
Yeah,
it's too
just
big and
he
he's
put
got
that shoulder in you.
too big and too much touch for somebody that big. Like
Right.
you just there's nothing you can do about that. Our deepest condolences to the
Yes.
Bridgman families and the Miller families on the passing of two members of the NBA fraternity who have left fantastic legacy behind. Speaking of legacy, new legacies, building legacies. One thing I'm excited about personally, and I have personal vested interest in this as a father of many girls. Um, Two of them who have expressed an interest in playing flag football in high school. that's now coming more into fruition come college. So the Atlantic East has become the first NCAA conference to launch varsity women's flag football. This is in partnership with the NFL. The NFL has provided funding for the launch, along with guidance for rules organization. The inaugural season begins this month in March and will feature 7 Division III schools.
Dang, that fast?
That fast.
How many players does it say
It's going to be
are going
seven.
to be on the field?
It's going to be 7-on-7.
7-on-7.
Yes.
That's nice. That's good because there's this little girl that was like in a lot of like highlights. They were showing her playing flag football. She looked like Barry Sanders Jr. So
Hey,
he needs to be able to flex that.
I'll tell you one thing. I don't like how the NFL is becoming so much like flag as far as not hitting anybody. But flag is so special as its own separate entity because the athletes can do so much of a different variance. They can use their athleticism so much differently because to be that shifty, to be able to avoid someone pulling that flag, the way they duck down, lean, shift their hips. Like this one girl, I mean, the video blew up a couple years ago, but it's on she did a punt return, and the way she was shifting her hips, and to just have these people narrowly miss her flag, it was like I was like, that's elite. It was elite escapism. I was like, well, this girl had to be 15, 16.
Yeah.
And the way she was moving, I was like, that's wild. And it's something that you don't see that often. But when some of these young and the way the men are doing it, like this guy who calls himself better than Patrick Mahomes. Now, I think he's a little overinflated on his. I mean, you good for what you do, but let's pump the brakes there, bro. But for flag, okay, that you're the Patrick Mahomes of what you do, a flag of what you do. I think I'm positive Patrick entered his world, he'd be better, but but what he does is different.
It's different, and this is coming from a person who was the MVP of Knob Noster's 7th grade flag football championship, where I was the quarterback and threw for 6 touchdowns. I can't remember how many picks I had, but I was kind of all over. But my main target was a girl, and I had her at tight end. And we grew. She lived right like down the block, so she used to play football with us all the time. So we had it live, man. I was just like ping ping. So yeah, I'm always happy to see when girls and young ladies are going to get more opportunities, because that means potentially more scholarship opportunities. Hopefully it's something that can kind of take over, like not take over, but it can spread to the other ranks in the college area.
Well, I definitely think it will be, because also part of this news, through the NFL's International Women's Scholarship Program, players from abroad can attend U.S.-based schools that offer flag football as a varsity sport. So this will definitely provide more opportunities for scholarships for young ladies, especially like here in Pennsylvania. Um, it was mentioned on the original Jeek podcast previously, but not next year, but the year after. So 26, 27 here in Pennsylvania, flag football will be a 7-on-7 flag football will be a statewide varsity sport.
Oh, nice.
Yes. So I told my twin girls, I'm like, y'all got your junior year, y'all need to be ready to go out there and do this thing.
Have them out here running ill.
We gonna be out here. We gonna be out here getting shifty, doing our plyometrics, get ready for this flag football. So, but that's it's so. I mean, it's really this news, I mean, that already excited me, for my girls as they both expressed interest. But this is just an additional excitement because it can continue beyond.
Yeah.
And I think flag football can, if any women's professional sport, I think could truly blow up, it would be a professional women's flag football.
Yeah,
Um,
I can see that.
because because women love. I mean, women love football. People act like they don't, but women do. It's the most popular sport among women across the nation,
Yeah.
and having their own league and being a league where their faces are going to be exposed, unlike in the NFL, they can really, I mean, they can
Merchandise,
really,
market,
really market. They can be like the NBA because they can really focus on
like promoting. Yeah, yeah.
amplifying their players, not have it be about the shield as much as the NFL is. They can be like the NBA and have a healthy balance between team loyalty, player loyalty. There's so many more options that they would have, with branding and these women can have the makeup deals and stuff that they can have. Obviously the apparel, like you could just do so much. The accessorizing you can do with a flag football team way blows away anything you would do if you put women in pads.
Right.
So I think it would be a fantastic thing to see. And if the NFL is smart, and I know there are because the Eagles and the Steelers also helped the state of Pennsylvania with getting this initiative for high school girls flag football.
Hmm.
Obviously, so with the NFL being involved on the high school and collegiate level, they've got to be planning to launch a women's flag league within the next 5 to 7 years. It's
And
got.
hopefully they'll care about it more than like the NBA cares about the W,
Mhm.
because like you said, I mean, some of it is like just no brainer. Like they can do not like full games, but they could do, like showcases, at halftime. Because
Halftime,
like
absolutely, yeah,
just there's so much potential there. We need to be put in charge of that initiative.
absolutely. I
I
concur.
believe. I think that.
Ain't nobody else talking about it, so they should put us in charge because we're
Right,
actually
right,
excited
right.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm absolutely
I'm
because
gonna call my I'm gonna call my people
yeah,
and have them call some
I'm
people.
I will call my people that know the people that know Goodell. You
Right,
know,
right, right.
hey, my old high school teammate played for the Eagles. I'm like, hey man, link me up with somebody. Make it happen. Yeah, we need to be about this because
Yeah.
it's there's the and it's so it would be so much different than the WNBA because the W is it's women playing basketball, which is different than flag football, which is women playing flag football. It's completely, but obviously there's so much
It's
different.
different.
It's
Yeah,
so
when
much
you're
different
talking,
in 7-on-7. So
yeah,
much different in flag. It's refereed differently. It looks different. The presentation is different. Your highlights are going to be different. Obviously, there's no big hits. You're focusing on an athleticism. You're focusing on the flash and the wow factor can be so much different and so much higher. It's going to be more appealing, in my opinion,
mm,
to the casual fan because they love these high scoring games. We're talking about every game's going to be like 50 something to 40 something type.
yeah,
It's a lot of scoring. So if people like that, and you know how people love highlight culture, it's been a thing since the late '90s. It it's the fruit is ripe. Get these high schools in more states doing it. Get these colleges doing it, and 5 to 7 years from now, you have a league that honestly would probably be getting more viewership than the Rock's UFL.
yeah.
And that's no diss to the Rock and Danny out there doing their thing with UFL. That's no disrespect to them.
Right.
Shout out to my Michigan Panthers, but realistically, they could do better and get more viewership, obviously with the backing
Yeah,
and
yeah.
support of the NFL.
I kind of think of it like how Unrivaled is right now.
Absolutely.
It's a 3-on-3 game. I love it. Like at first, I was like, it better not be that Olympics, bull jive, but they're playing 3-on-3 full court, a smaller court, which allows for like up tempo scoring. Like they have a few rules, like differences, like the ending of games and all of that. So I love it. I've been having a lot of fun with it.
Me too.
I think it's going to get better as long as they kind of stick with it. And I just love the fact that these young women are able to get paid. Like so many of them, like the minimum contract for Unrivaled is like more than what like 90-something% of people make in the W for way less games. So I love it. I hope it continues to go. The crazy part is just like the W, the gameplay is great.
Yes.
Like that's not the problem. That's never been the problem. It's just, getting people hype on it. So yeah, but this is a good story here.
Absolutely. Being that you mentioned Unrivaled, quick detour that I wanted to talk to you about, but me being sick for a couple weeks and having so much going on, it didn't come up. But I'm going to take a quick detour, and we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about this that came out of Unrivaled. So if you're not very familiar with Unrivaled, like Greg said, it is a 3-on-3 full court women's league. One thing that they did with Unrivaled is they had a one-on-one tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And within that one-on-one tournament, there was it wasn't an upset to me, but for most people, they would consider it an upset. And of course, now my mind is going blank here on who. So Breonna Stewart, who is
Aaliyah Edwards.
Yes, Aaliyah Edwards. So Aaliyah Edwards and played Breonna Stewart in this tournament, and Aaliyah Edwards didn't just beat Breonna Stewart; she completely dominated Breonna Stewart. I believe she beat her 11-0.
Yeah.
11-0. And Breonna Stewart is considered to be one of the greatest women players alive. We're talking about a multiple-time NCAA champion, a WNBA champion, an MVP in the WNBA. Bree is no slouch. Okay, she's great. However, greatness 5-on-5 is different than greatness 1-on-1. And a lot of the women in Unrivaled have been commenting, saying that, and I saw Nafisa Collier state that the men would need to man up and have their own one-on-one tournament, but they don't think that they will. One that's Nafisa is a young woman. She was not around. Hey, neither me nor Greg were around in 1972 when the NBA had a one-on-one tournament. So let's not act like it's a new thing, but it's not a common thing. But one-on-one is different ball. I want to know from you what you think of Unrivaled having this one-on-one tournament and the pros and cons for doing it, not only for them, but pros and cons would be for doing it for the NBA.
I thought it was a great idea. It was interesting. I was interested to see how it was going to go because a few of the best one-on-one players in the league weren't even didn't play in Unrivaled.
Right.
So like Kelsey Mitchell, I would have loved to see her. She's just different. But all that to say, they started playing. They were physical. They were competing. Skylar, like Alicia Gray, that's my baby. When I say baby, I don't mean like romantic. She lives in Atlanta. She's the most adorable.
She's such a cutie. Yeah, she's a cutie.
She's just my favorite. Like they are really missing opportunities to market her because she a thug on the court. That's the best part, is that she get after you on both ends.
Yes.
So all that to say, I was happy with it. Mm-hmm. So I don't like the finals. Nafisa was, she kind of thugged Aaliyah out.
She's too strong.
Yeah. And like there were some people I saw that was like, oh, that should be a foul. I'm like, what kind of one-on-one are we doing here? Because our one-on-one, like back in my day, I like saying that, it was like sometimes like it depending on the circumstances, he was like no blood, no foul. Like we
Yeah,
were
it's call your own
like
foul. It's one on
right,
one.
right. And so she did honestly, it reminded me of when I was coming off of a knee issue. I had like fractured some stuff in my knee. And my brother was, getting older and he challenged me and he was just too quick. And I hadn't even played since I came, like I was cleared. And so he got up on me early and it was in front of the family. Like my wife was there. Like I had to just Magic Johnson him.
Yeah.
Just take him to the post.
Take him to the post.
And, I had to get physical. And that's what the FISA did. And I liked it. And I was, because that's what it's supposed to be.
That's what's supposed. It's strategy.
Yeah.
Like, and a lot of people don't. So many people don't understand how different it is with one-on-one, and then like. So I mean, I love it. Now the problem is, marketing wise, people don't. We're in such an era that is away from our era when we were coming up. Bully ball is not. It's frowned upon.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of the reason why Melo's still not in the league. He said on his podcast, he put his head down, went to the room, and they called an offensive foul, and they're like, no, none of that bully ball anymore, Melo. Melo's like, what? I've been doing this 15 years. It's basketball. I've been doing this 15 years. You won't let me do it now?
No, that was him because they still let LeBron do it. They still let Joker do it. Giannis still gets away with it.
Yeah.
Those are like the only three, but
it's just so it's like but even with them, like they act like they don't do it, but it's frowned upon.
Yeah,
for the most part.
Yeah,
people don't understand that if you can bully somebody, it doesn't matter how great that player is, they will lose.
Right.
We've all heard the stories of D Wade beating Bron one-on-one, Michael Beasley abusing LeBron one-on-one. John Sally. Kobe admitted John Sally used to beat him one-on-one, and John Sally was old.
Right.
But Kobe Bryant was 6'7" in sneakers, and John Sally legit 6'10", 6'11", and 7 foot in sneakers. So yeah, 5.5 inches taller wins. Because you can't keep them from getting to the basket,
especially when you have the mass on your side. But I mean, think back to the '84 Celtics. Like the Lakers, they knew they couldn't run with them, so they had to turn it into a gang fight. So you got to but that's the strategy that comes. If the NBA players were doing it, so I can't remember. I feel like they had like 11 seconds, 8. I can't remember how many seconds they were getting.
They were getting it was like 11 seconds to
get a shot off. Yeah. So that's the part I would want. I would wonder what would be the stipulations. I know a lot of NBA players when they play one-on-one, they play 3 dribble, next type stuff.
That's exactly where I would go with it. I wouldn't do a time. I would do you've got a maximum of 5 dribbles max. Each possession, you can only dribble 5 times, and you got to get it shut up. Because honestly, at that level,
them dudes are too good, man.
But at that level, even if you're starting every ball, everything is check up from the top of the key. If you can't get to the basket within 5 dribbles, then you shouldn't be in this tournament to begin with.
Right.
And
if you give them more dribble, they're just too they're just too good. I already so you threw out a couple of names.
Yes.
Michael Beasley. I've heard the horror stories of him just mopping everybody.
Everybody.
One-on-one.
Everybody. Yeah.
Did you see where he said that there was a practice where
yes, where he's checking Bron, and Bron's like, no, Mario Chalmers is guarding me.
Yeah, that kind of stuff, man. This dude is a nightmare. So it does think about like guys in the past, like Glenn Robinson. Can you imagine him in a one-on-one? Like, who's stopping that?
Nobody.
He elevates. The difference between like him and a KD is that he's gonna put that body on you. He's gonna go into your chest. So. But I would love.
Here's my thing. I would love the men to have a one-on-one tournament because I think it gives them an opportunity to make more stars. Now they're not going to be superstars, but you can make more stars, more people to market, even though they're not going to be the best when it comes to the team aspect. If you can make them a star in some, like, you had people who became stars or got notoriety simply from winning, your 3-point contest and your dunk contest.
From being in the dunk contest sometimes.
Sometimes being in it. But if you're prolific in it and you can make a name for yourself. So we saw cats like, well, so we knew who J.R. Ryder was coming out of UNLV, but the most of the country discovered J.R. In the dunk contest. Harold Miner blew up because of the dunk contest,
and not even just so. Like, think about like Larry Johnson in the dunk contest. Like, we thought we knew who Larry Johnson was. We knew him pretty well. We didn't know that was getting ready to happen.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? We didn't know that he could get that. How you say that shifty?
Yeah.
That agile.
Yeah. We didn't know he had that level of grace for being a brick of muscle.
Yeah. But so it was like that kind of stuff can propel you. And I think so. I'm sure there's certain people that wouldn't compete because they don't like to get embarrassed or anything like that. But they wasn't gonna win anyway. I think Kyrie already said it. Rest in peace to his ACL. It's my guy too, man. But like Kyrie was like, yeah, I would jump in that. Like, give me, like, I could think of a list of guys, like 10 to 12 dudes that you would put in there.
Okay, give me your list. Give me your list of who you inaugural one-on-one tournament. Let's say 10 players max, because with the All-Star weekend, they don't want stuff going too long anymore. Give me 10 guys you put into. Actually, no, it's got to be 12 because of.
Yeah, it'll be 12.
So, yeah, okay, so give me your 12. So Kyrie Irving.
Let me see. So definitely Kai, definitely KD.
Okay.
Let me get Shea. Let me get, I would take Jalen Green.
Okay.
I'm like free flowing with this one. Let's see.
All right, I'll throw a name in there, a little guy, but I like him. I will put Darius Garland in there.
Oh, that would be tough. He's tough. He's very quick and slippery. Let me see. I mean, go ahead and put Uncle Traveling Matt in there. I mean, James Harden. I'm sorry. That's a Fraggle Rock reference for all the
for all you young bucks. You don't know about Fraggle Rock.
Let me see. Who else got like that? Bags.
I'm honestly,
DeMar DeRozan.
DeMar's a great one-on-one player, and Paul George.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
I'm not a fan of him.
But PG has got it deep.
Yeah. No,
he's got the height, he's got the range, he's got. I mean, PG is tough.
I could see taking somebody. I would love to see Giannis in that. Here's a caveat. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the next 4 need to be guys that can build their names. We got most of these guys have a name. Okay, that makes sense. Let's see. Let's dig into this. Yeah.
So I'll throw one in there. I'll throw 2 in there actually, and you got 2 finish the 2. I want to see the Thompson twins. I want to see Asar and Amen.
Oh, yeah, that's toughness right there. I think I would look at maybe Cam Thomas.
Okay.
From Brooklyn. He's a bucket. Like he's just seriously a bucket. And then you said somebody else.
Somebody name builder. Somebody that's young buck. Somebody that people aren't. Actually, you know what? I'll throw this one in there because I think it would be extremely intriguing, and this guy doesn't get enough playing time, in my opinion, and that's Bol Bol.
Oh, please, yes. He's the kind of person that might sneak around and win something.
Right.
But yeah, yes, I'm Team Bol Bol all the way. So you won't hear me say anything bad about that fella, and I would love to see it. Now,
like how do you guard someone like him, man? Like
you gotta try to beat him up.
so
You just gotta try to beat him up. Like
you gotta try to tie him up. You gotta somehow try to get your hands on the ball as he's bringing it up because he's so long. You're not obviously gonna deter his shot. He's gonna get his shot off. He got to keep in front of him and try to tie him up. Like that's all you can do. Yeah, and like you said, be tough with him.
You just got to try to bully him and cross your fingers
and pray.
Right, he's a problem. I want that kid. Like, I'm sick of these people, man. If they're not gonna play him, they need to move him somewhere where somebody. I'm sad because Denver really liked him, but they just at that time where they were growing, they didn't have room for him, and so
But see, honestly, you know what? I can't buy that because you didn't have room for Bol Bol, but you're gonna bring in Mr. Always Injured and Michael Porter.
Well, I mean, but Michael Porter was a. So remember, Bol, messed his foot up in college, and that pushed his draft status way back.
And Porter got hurt 3 times in college.
I know, but they took that chance. You know how it is. If they're going to make you high in the lottery, then they're going to ride. Like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist. Need I say anything else? They rode with that guy
for so long.
Yeah, it should have been the first game when he came out shooting like a Decepticon.
shooting like a Ken doll turned to the side.
I'll never forget. We was watching the game, and he went to shoot, and my daughter was like, "Ew." she's like, "You had my arms on fire, learning how to shoot, and nobody did that for him." I was like,
nope. Yeah.
It's get it out there best way you can.
Okay. Well, I like this list. Listeners, I'm going to post this list. We want to know who you would add or remove from this list. But I think that would look fantastic because it's got a great mix of young talent, established talent, and you've got some bigger guys, smaller guys. I think that would be a fantastic inaugural tournament. You play games to 7. They won't take. They shouldn't take that long.
No, they won't take. The stuff I've heard from people who've actually played KD one-on-one, they say that he makes you feel like a little kid. You're not even bothering him at all. He just when he's ready to pull up, he pulls.
It's like he's warming up. It's like yeah.
So, yes,
I like it. All right, next topic here we are going to talk about is.
I think we got Diana. Was Diana next?
Yes. It is Diana Taurasi, the WNBA's all-time leading scorer, 3-time WNBA champion, 6 Olympic gold medals, multiple NCAA championships at the University of Connecticut, 20 seasons in the WNBA, has called it a career. DT is a personal favorite of mine. I've been a fan of DT her entire career. I'm going to miss seeing her on the court. What is DT's career, her legacy, mean to you, and just of all of basketball?
Man, just buckets, bro. It's weird because I think skill level, she may have taken the game to a different, different level as far as a lot of her work, off the dribble pull-ups and just being crafty, not being we always say the best offensive players are those people where you take away their main thing and then they got another thing and they got another thing. And she just was one of them people that it seemed like she was gonna get buckets.
Yes.
And so I I thank her for like pushing the women's game forward. One of my favorite things about her is that she was a dog. Like
Yes.
she wasn't nice. She wasn't like you hear Kelsey Plum tell the story
When she blew by her,
yeah, she
BT
got
put her on her back.
put on her butt, yeah.
Yeah.
Like that. But that's that real like. It's one of the things. Part of the reason why I love women's basketball today is just because they still have that physical element. They still have that intimidation level.
Oh yeah.
You're not just gonna be out here dancing and playing all willy nilly.
Well, they're playing '90s ball in the WNBA right now. Like they still have enforcers. They're still, they're still playing team basketball. They're going out there and really giving it their all. And honestly, I love it because look, they're 27, 28 years old as a league. No, sorry, they're 29 because they started in '96. So yeah, so I always think of my daughter's age and them because they both started the same year. So they're 29 years old. They're still fighting. They're still hungry. Where the NBA at 75 plus now is not as hungry, and the players don't fight and scrap the same way because they're getting paid so much more money. They don't have the same fight. They don't have the same drive. They don't have the same determination, and because the factors behind their drive are different. So I love where the W is because they're trying to get paid more. They're trying to get recognized for the level of basketball players that they are, and it really
they're
makes
still
for a
playing.
more.
They're still playing for pride. Like
Yes,
pride. That
exactly.
was that was one of the things. Like it didn't matter. But yeah, with us, it didn't matter if we was playing where there was referees or if we was playing in the backyard. It's like when we went out to play, it was like you wanted to show people that you were better than them. It was like we were playing for your name just as
Yes.
much as anything. So
I mean, to this day, like every time I take my out of shape self to LA Fitness and I play ball, half the time I come home and they're like, "What's wrong with you?" And I'm like, "I'm mad because I didn't play well." And
yeah,
they're like, "You're in your 40s and you're out of shape." I'm like, "That doesn't matter. I'm
right,
mad because I like." And I'll be yelling at myself during the game. I'll be like, "Oh," and I'll look at it like, "Y'all lucky I am out of shape." That steal would be like, I'll just miss a steal. Like, y'all lucky I'm overweight. That'd have been mine. Or I pick a guy, my hands are still quick. I'll pick a guy's pocket, but I'm not as shifty. Sometimes I can't get back behind him to complete the steal. I'm like, oh, you're lucky because that was mine. Like,
right,
and I get frustrated to this day every time I'm out there, and I'm like, I shouldn't have missed that layup. I should have made that extra pass because every time I step on the court, there is personal pride, there is expectation that I have for myself, my own performance, despite the fact that I am not in anywhere shape, form, or fashion in basketball shape. But
right.
every time I step on the court, I have expectation of myself to excel or to perform, I should say, not to excel anymore, to perform at a certain level. And if I don't perform at that level, I have a problem.
Yeah. I was shooting around a couple of weeks ago. I went to the gym and I was like, oh, this is so terrible. I'm all by myself in there. Like they're letting me because I used to coach there. So the lady was like, yeah, you can shoot around a little bit. I got Crocs on. I'm just bricking.
Mm.
I'm like, this is so ugly. This is so terrible. I need to get in, get home, do some push-ups, like start playing with the ball. Like, and I'm like, for what? I don't know. But it's like,
Because
yeah,
you want that feeling back. You want your touch back.
yeah,
And when we're rusty, it's like, I don't like the feeling. I hate that feeling.
yeah.
I love being able to step on a court, even if I haven't been playing seriously. And when within my first 2-3 shots, I'm on bottoms
Yeah.
because the muscle memory. I warm up a little bit because we older. It takes us longer to warm up. But once I'm warm, you in trouble. You know that
Yeah.
and I know and I hate it when I play a game and I'm like, man, it took me 2 games before I got warm, and now I'm a problem. But after those 2 games, now I'm tugging the shorts.
Right.
Know, now I'm like, y'all. Now I'm like, all right, I'm gonna play defense and I'm gonna play Draymond. I'm gonna run this offense from the top of the key. I ain't driving the ball. That's not happening. Like, I just now I got to resort to old man basketball where when I had a little bit more energy, if I was warmer, I could have done something. I could have hit a couple pull ups. When I had for that short period of time where I had a little bit of legs.
Right.
So it's like you want. I've never I never got I could make that money independently. I would there wouldn't be a week where I wouldn't be on the court twice a week just to keep myself sharp and help keep myself in shape. But
Yeah.
the pride that they're playing with that pride, and I think that's why one-on-one can help and establish more personal individual pride when you're going out there because there's nobody to blame if you blow it on defense. If you're not showing any type of effort or passion, you can't blame it on anybody. It's you and that cat, and who wants it more?
Right.
And
And
the league needs that attitude. They need a who wants it more attitude.
yeah. And also like there are I toggle back and forth with this because I really do feel like the league has legislated like passion and a level of competitiveness out of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Players used to be able to police stuff on the court. Now you
Right.
can't. So somebody can cheap shot you, and then like you're gonna get it worse if you retaliate, So it allows certain people to get away with doing, like for lack of a better person right now, like Draymond, he's able to get away with certain things because no, I don't care if you convince the referee that you were swinging at the air. You punched me in my face, so I want to run the fade, but I
Right.
can't, And so I think that the fact that they won't let people touch people on the, offense, can you imagine back in our time, like if we weren't allowed to like put a forearm on you or like impede your progress with our body, with our shoulder, that's hard. So it's like I can't even really play defense on you. So
And they're hooking me on top of it.
right, hooking and
You're
elbowing,
you're you're
like
you're you're, you're hooking me, but I can't impede your progress in any way.
yeah, they calling
Like
fouls on me. Like me and you are moving together. You dip your shoulder and run into me, and they call a foul on me for getting run over.
right.
Like so, it's like I get it. Like some of these dudes that really want to, lace them up and go at it, like you really can't, So I feel both sides, but I think the guys that would be brave enough to enter, because number one, you're not going to be able, you can't be one of those guys that's worried about how I'm going to look or what my legacy is or any of that stuff. They do it all the time. They play one-on-one in practice all the time.
Yeah.
They just don't want to do that kind of stuff in front of the world because it's like,
Some of them don't, but
yeah,
I think Kyrie, KD. I know they've both talked about it, so like I definitely think they would. And some of the guys whose legacies are established, I like those two and like James. I think that they will be fine with it because no one is arguing. No one's really arguing their spots all the time.
right.
It's not going to it's not going to really impact their money. And it's not going to make it's not making or breaking their career, and they're already established stars. Where you get some young guys who can use that rise in the stardom, who can make a name even if they lose. But like KD can play. Let's say KD plays Jalen Green and just wipes him, just 7-0, boom. But then he plays someone longer and rangier like Amen Thompson, and he
Like,
still wins, but it's 7-5. And
yeah,
you saw that Thompson was able to get under him and cause a couple problems.
mhm.
Because honestly, with KD, you have to try to take away
You got to
his,
get into
his
his
you
legs,
got to
get
get
into
into
his
his
body.
legs, try to make him uncomfortable handling. You want to make
All
KD
you can
take one or two dribbles. You don't want him to. and you just try to make KD uncomfortable. And if he can do that, but KD's KD and he hits the shots and it's a close game, yeah, he lost. But people are looking at Asar Thompson or Amen Thompson. They're like, that kid's a lot better than I realized. Like
Yeah.
he can really put it together. He was playing some really tough defense, and he was giving KD some buckets. He's just not as refined. Like, wow, I want to keep an eye on him.
Yeah. I gotta stop saying who my new favorite player is. Because I said Ja was my new favorite player, then he started pulling guns out. Now it's Amen, and then he like sprains his knee. I'm like, man, that's not as bad as pulling guns out.
No,
I feel like I might just be cursing these young guys, so I'm gonna stop saying it and just watch. But that dude, man, he did I don't know if you remember those really old, like Bulls versus Blazers.
I still own
like
them.
those.
Yeah, I still have those games.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
So you remember, like they would do stuff like reach back and then switch and do like this and dunk. It was like an animated. It would happen.
Yeah.
That man did that in a game.
That's true.
He
sure did. He sure did.
Went around that dude and then reached back. I'm like, these dudes. I have a dream. I don't know how, but I have a dream that they play together in their primes, man.
Oh, I said that. What, the second episode we did? And in my dream, it's just that
I wonder who they're playing for.
My dream is just Amen comes to Detroit. That's my dream, that Amen comes to Detroit. But a lot of people are saying it like some after the, I think it was the Rising Stars game. Somebody was like, I saw online, somebody was like, they better pray these two don't play on the same team because they are that good. They work.
Did you see
they work hard. They get at it. They're really competitive.
IQ.
Yeah, the IQ was
there. Did you
there.
see how Amen went? Like, so when Jabari Smith went out, they started him at the 4, and he was playing super well there, like balling out. And then Jabari comes back, and Fred VanVleet goes out.
Yep.
And now they're starting him at the 1. Because that's what he is. He was a lead guard, like through high school and overtime elite. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So it's like, bro, you don't like. I don't think people understand what's coming. They're like, he just got to work on his jump shot. And I'm like, nah.
Hey,
I mean,
if
at
I
a certain point, yeah, but
I mean, if I can have Cade Cunningham at my point, and Amen and Asar are playing like my 3 and 4, and you got me a shooter at my 2, and I've got somebody, and I got somebody at the 5. I mean, it can be Beef Stew. Beef Stew can continue to be my enforcer at the 5. I'm feeling good. You know, if I got just those three, if those three are my young core, I feel good.
Yeah. That, like, the boys are coming.
So staying with the league, I really wanted to touch base with this previously, and that's why I'm bringing it up, even though it's older news. It's like a week, a little more, almost 2 weeks old now. But I had to bring this up. So Golden State Warriors coach Steve Kerr, back on March 4th, stated this, and I quote, "I don't understand why we are not teaching our officials to call travels in this league. They do a great job. They work their tails off. They communicate well. But I see 5 or 6 travels a game that aren't called." Now, I think he's being generous and just saying just 5 or 6, because you and I both know it is a lot more than 5 or 6.
Yeah.
He's being kind there. He's being gracious. Now, you and I, between this show and your appearances on the original Jeek podcast, and my own just being on that show for years now, have lamented the traveling crisis that the NBA has had for years. It's about time somebody within the league, especially a high-profile 4-time, championship-winning coach, has said something about this. How much do you think the league is going to pay attention to this, especially if other coaches start to echo this sentiment?
So I first have to start off with saying the gather. And players have learned how to manipulate it, to the fullest extent. But so like with those, I'm a little bit more lenient. But then when you see, I don't know if you saw the Peyton Pritchard travel the other night where he dribbled, he picked up his dribble, he took 2 steps back and realized he wasn't behind the 3-point line. So he took 2 more steps back right in front of the referee. And I didn't see the game. I don't know if the ref called it, but just the fact that he tried that lets you know how, ridiculous it's gotten. But I say this, I guess the travel bothers me. It does. But there's a lot of other stuff that also bothers me. They've done all these things to make it easier for offensive players. And we know because we've played against dudes in the league that everybody in the NBA is elite and can score, almost everybody. And so it's like you don't stand a chance with the way the rules are set up today.
We didn't stand a chance the way the rules were in the 90s or the 80s.
Right.
We really don't stand a chance the way it is now. If they can take all these 800 extra steps, like even though the traveling calls were so much more lax when Shaq to the Fool was a hot commodity. 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15, like when Shaq to the Fool was really blowing up, and hell, Corey Brewer took 8 steps before his dunk and no one called it. Melo catches the ball and takes 9 steps before shooting it without dribbling.
I honestly feel like the gather thing was put in place because of LeBron, because LeBron used to take
LeBron
420 steps.
LeBron's a major violator of it. Yeah. So but it was still like even though it was becoming more frequent because you would see it on Shaq to the Fool, it was still like, okay, this one egregious travel happened this game. And outside of James Harden and his step backs, it wasn't everybody in the league doing it. You just had the egregious travel here and the egregious travel there. Well, now almost every move is the egregious travel. And it's like I can't. It makes it, and unfortunately, it makes the product tough to watch for me sometimes when I'm watching certain teams, because I'm like that's a travel, man. Like that, that's, to me, that's not fun to watch when it's like, bruh, you just took 6 steps without dribbling. Like that's that's not. You can't tell me that's a gather, because to me, if it's a gather, you took 1 extra step.
Right.
But when it's 6 steps, your feet have gone up and down, up and down, up. And when this and I've sent you some of these crazy videos that I've seen. And when these guys are taking 2 steps and all of a sudden a jump stop, they're jump stopping and then taking 2 steps. I'm like, since when can you take 2 steps after jump stopping? What is going on?
So there's the up and under, and we know what the up and under is, and they call it the step through now. But it was an up and under because you would do it in the post. So I've been arguing with people with this. So fundamentally, the move that a lot of them are making would be correct, but you are allowed to step through, but your lead foot is not supposed to leave, like your pivot foot is not supposed to leave the ground.
Right.
Before, both feet need to leave at the same time. You can't.
Yeah, either both feet leave at the same time, or the ball is out of your hands before your pivot foot comes off the ground.
Yeah. And what they're doing is they're stopping, they're stepping, and then that pivot foot's coming up.
Yeah, I'm like, and every time it's a travel, and then these guys making videos like, oh, this is legal, and I'm just like, I just want to slap you every time I see one of those videos.
Because I had me and one of my best friends, we argued way too long about it, because I think Aja Wilson did it, but hers wasn't a travel. Like you can do whatever as long as that pivot foot, like that toe on that pivot foot, doesn't leave the ground before the ball.
And see, and that's another thing, is now they're doing it to toe. When we were playing, your heel had to stay down. You
Well, if you
lifted.
are on your
You
toe, though, you could, like, if you're already on your tiptoe, then you're
Yeah,
gonna
but
fall over.
most of the time, their heel is flat,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
before if you lifted that heel, that was a travel,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that's how we were taught.
Okay.
Don't.
Yeah.
I mean, if you establish that pivot foot, that you can't lift it because if you do, that's a travel. Now, like they've got they're like ballet freaking doing pirouettes, and they just got their toe somehow on their and like.
So there is, because I was arguing. I gotta stop just arguing under random posts. But there's they were playing in the celebrity game,
Mhm.
and Rakia, I don't know how she just left Unrivals and went. But anyways, Rakia Jackson, there's a move where she caught the ball. She was running. She caught the ball. She took one dribble, gathered, and then took 2 steps. And all these people are like, "Oh, that's a travel." And I'm like, by rule today, that's not a travel. I think, and this is part of the reason why I wanted to do this with you, is because as much as we love the old school, like we still love basketball,
Yes.
and I feel like more people need to be educating people on rule changes, on fundamental. Like I love that Larry Bird said this, and if I already said this to you, you told me to shut up. But Larry Bird talked about like the giveaway, the gives and the takes from playing this new style, this 5-out basketball.
All right, so we're going to move on to the last section of the episode. So Hoops Hype recently released a list of their top 20 defensive centers in NBA history. So yeah. So for our viewing audience that we haven't really established yet, we're working on that. I am. Let me see here. I'm going to put this to a so I can see this a little bit better. Going to go here. All right. So starting at number 20, they have Joakim Noah. At number 19, they have Moses Malone. At number 18, they have Marc Gasol. And at number 17, they have Wes Unseld.
All right, so stop. I do not. I've watched basketball a lot of my life. I do not remember. I didn't understand when Marc Gasol won Defensive Player of the Year, and I do not understand like this defensive prowess that they say he had. I'm not saying he was a scrub, and I am saying that he played like his. I think the majority of his career, where he flourished, at least, was in the era of the dying center. So he didn't have a lot of centers to defend. He was a good team defender, but that's one of the head scratchers for me.
I honestly, I thought watching that year, I thought he was a defensive player of the year. The reason why I think it's wild that he won it is because they put him on the all defensive second team and then they gave him the award. If you're going
Yeah,
to give the
yeah,
DPOY award to anybody, it should be somebody who's on the defensive first team. And the next best defender that year on the was on the first team, and that was LeBron James. I now granted, I still think that Marc Gasol was the more impactful defensive player that year. But if you're going to put someone on the second team, they can't be the best defensive player of everybody and then be on the second team. That's just stupid.
yeah. You got to cook the books or something like to
Right.
make it make sense.
Exactly. You got to make it make sense. So that's my problem with that. Um, but I didn't think he had a very long, extended time as a top defensive player, and also a lot of the defense that I think he gets credit for isn't credited should be credited partially to Zebo on the
The whole team, like that, is
and not the big fit, but Zebo as well as Tony Allen out there on the perimeter. Tony Allen's pushing you into the long arms of Marc Gasol. So
yeah,
like that makes your job easier as a rim defender if you've got one of the best perimeter defenders of all time. That's pretty much guiding you into getting a block shot. Like how hard really was it for this guy? So I personally have a problem with Marc Gasol, even on this list, even as low as he is. I'll give some names that I think should be on here that are not on here. But Marc Gasol is definitely one of those names where I'm like, I don't know about that.
And then for like him to be ahead of Noah, like I don't want to. I can't speak. I'm not going to speak ill about Moses or Wes Unseld because they're before. Like I when I watched Moses, it wasn't a lot of defense happening. He was just murdering people on the other end. But I do know that he was athletic and he was.
Oh yeah, I mean Rockets and Philly Moses was a monster.
Yeah, and I've heard the tales of Wes Unseld.
Yes.
But so far,
especially people forget Wes was 6'7".
Yeah.
And that afro made him look. That afro made him look 6'10". But
6'10", yeah.
Right.
But right now, only thing I have an issue with is Marc Gasol. So we can keep this thing rolling.
All right. Next, we have number 16, Tyson Chandler. Number 15, Patrick Ewing.
Why has Pat this low?
Yeah. I mean,
Pat, when he got older, the defense slipped some. But
well, it's because those knees were shot.
Yeah, but in his prime, that was a scary mofo.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But I ain't gonna go crazy. I like Tyson Chandler being on the list. I think that he doesn't get the credit that he deserves for what he did in that 2011 finals. Mm-hmm. He made it to where Dirk could play free. Dirk didn't have to take any tough defensive assignments, and he could just focus on scoring. To me, he really anchored that team.
He's like the biggest unsung hero because he should have been. He could have been DPOY that year. And I think that's why they gave it to him that year with the Knicks. That year with the Knicks, I didn't think he was a DPOY. Mm-hmm. I think that was a holdover from 2011 when he really was a DPOY.
Yeah, because he was locking everything down.
Yeah, he was dominant, defending the rim extremely well.
But Pat was scary, man.
Oh yeah, Pat was scary.
Like 87 Patrick Ewing. Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
Where are we going from here?
Pat was scary. So now we're going to go on to.
I just think overall I get salty because I think Patrick is because he didn't win a championship.
Patrick gets slighted. Absolutely.
Yeah, and then so I always go check the tape. Like him and Olajuwon was banging. They were battling.
Oh yeah.
Patrick didn't have the offensive help that Olajuwon had, but it wasn't like he didn't get dominated that series. But Olajuwon had the better numbers, but
not the way Shaq got dominated. Like Pat was.
I don't even like. I'm sorry. I'm a Shaq dude. I've gone back and watched the games because there's the thing. Like there were so many moving parts happening. Orlando was doing a lot of doubling. They had Horace Grant would be guarding Shaq a lot of the time, and then Hakeem would come over with the help defense. Hakeem got off. You could see his eyes light up whenever Shaq would go out of the game. So he was getting a lot of points and a lot wreaking havoc while Shaq wasn't in there. I'm not saying he was afraid. I'm just saying this was the strategy.
Oh, well, I mean, when Shaq leaves, your eyes light up.
Right.
Shaq leaves the game, everyone's eyes lighting up.
And then when you look at the stats, it's if you just look at the stats, you can't say because Shaq.
Well, Shaq put up numbers,
crazy numbers.
Yeah,
I think.
But when you watch, you see he can't do anything with Dream. Dream's going.
Nobody could.
Well,
and then Shaq was also still. At that time, he was still young.
Super young. Yeah.
He was still trying to learn how to defend without fouling, know? So, right place, right time. I think because Shaq came out and said, yeah, he kicked my ass, I feel like the legend grows every year. But, I actually would go back and watch the games, and Shaq wasn't the reason his team lost. That was Nick Anderson.
Still can't believe that, man. I was
Nick Anderson.
So did I. I was rooting for Orlando.
Illini boys. Do you remember?
Oh my God, him and Kendall Gill.
Johnny Battle.
Yeah, man.
Come on.
Another
Liberty.
Another one of those teams was how did they not win? But my Wolverines got him. Glenn Rice.
Yeah,
they got him. They got him.
Kendall Gill was my dog, I used to do his dunk. It was like, yeah, but anyways, yeah. So anyways, where we at? We're 15.
We're at 16 and 15. So but
Yeah, so these next 14,
so 14 and 13
there better
coming
not
up.
be any scrubs defensively
So
because
okay, so you're not going to see a scrub defensively, but it's a little bit of a question mark for me being this high. And I
okay,
like this player, but to me it's like I feel he's a little high.
all right.
So number 14, Shaquille O'Neal.
Mm-hmm.
Number 13, Marcus Camby.
Mm-hmm. So I think that Shaq does not get credit for his defense, not only his, like shot blocks or whatever, but also like, yeah, man, I'm just not going in there. I don't want to be around that guy, So I think I'm okay with these. I love Marcus Camby. I wanted him to come out and be like an all-around player. He did seem to excel on the defensive end, but I'm not going to be mad at either one of these.
Okay.
I think
Camby's a little high, personally.
I could see that. He was long, high IQ. He defended. I believe he was a good defender without fouling very much.
I mean, he peaked with the Knicks, that finals run, and he had some really good years with Denver, anchoring that defense.
Yeah, but I think I would like have him around like the same as where I would put Noah. Like
if I'm putting him on this list, he is in the bottom 5. He would not be 13 for me.
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Okay,
but I'm glad they shouting out the homie because Marcus Camby was a little bit of a phenomenon coming out of college. Remember that, right?
Oh yeah. Oh man,
yeah.
him at UMass.
Yeah, man.
We can talk about the UMass team because I love that Puerto Rican backcourt.
Ah, that was a good team, bro.
Dante Bright. Oh man. All right, so numbers 12 and 11 are number 12, Nate Thurmond. Number 11, Alonzo Mourning.
All right, so I've heard the tales of Nate Thurmond, so I'm fine with him being here. I've heard the OGs. I don't even think he was underappreciated in his time. I think they knew what he was, but the legend didn't carry over. But back then,
but also, you're talking about there were other centers that were just higher profile,
right at that time, and they also won. And like I was laughing because this whippersnapper tried to tell me, ring culture today is so toxic. Blah, blah. I was like, man, it's always been ring culture.
Yeah,
they was on Doc's ass when he didn't, like when he hadn't won anything. They was on Kareem's ass because he couldn't win in LA.
The only people that talk about ring culture are LeBron fans who want to say that it doesn't count or they feel it's unfair to mention rings. Those are the only people who don't recognize that rings. It's always been about rings. It's about winning, and then can you be a great individual player and be a great winner? That's always been the thing about these upper echelon players. When you're talking about who's the greatest of all time, who's the greatest point guard, who's the greatest player, who's the greatest shooting guard, you have to nitpick. And when you're nitpicking is, can you be a great individual player? Can you be a winner while you're being a great individual player? And that's not everybody.
Right. And yeah, that like it's a lot, but we know, like as students of the game, we remember Jordan was getting they was tearing Jordan up.
Like, it was all you can do is score.
Selfish.
You're selfish.
All he does is lock down his men. And he doesn't make his teammates better.
And remember, they said that you couldn't lead the league in scoring and win the championship.
Right.
That was the thing. Especially as a guard.
Right.
Because if you were a big man and you were a high scorer, okay, that's because it was a big man's game. But you couldn't be a shooting guard, lead the league in scoring, and win the championship. That was unheard of.
It was I know Tiny led the league in scoring.
But he didn't win the chip. He led the league scoring and assists, but he
just
was the man. He didn't win the chip until he went to Boston.
But I'm just thinking of like guards who led the league in scoring. Period.
Oh, it wasn't that many.
Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah. So that's another thing I always try to tell when you're talking to these people, is that Jordan was like, nobody was building teams around shooting guards.
But no one was. You didn't build around guards. Period.
That's why you never hear anybody complain about Olajuwon going ahead of him. Because that was standard.
To this day, you don't hear people complain about Olajuwon.
Right. I don't. It's just got to get really good, man, because Alonzo Mourning. So I know you are too. Like this, like the pure part of it. Defense isn't always just about blocks that you get, the flashy plays, the steals. It's also like positioning. It's also rotation. It's also like the guts. Like, I don't remember seeing Zoe back down from nobody.
Zoe challenged everybody.
Like, you could dunk on him and he still challenge you next time. Like,
and all the shots, not even the shots he blocked, all the shots he altered, all the hard shots you had to take to make, because Zoe's coming for it. Like,
right.
And
then that same thing also, like all the people that just was like, I'm gonna choose my battle, and my battle today is not to go in there. Like, we just gonna shoot floaters and jump shot. So yeah, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm gonna be open-minded. I'm trying to stay open-minded.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna move on to the next one. So the next slide, number 10, Marc Eaton. Number 9, Rudy Gobert.
All right, so number 1, Marc Eaton. I think you could put him anywhere on this list you want, because he was like a whole problem.
For that 5-6 year streak,
run,
he was really a big problem.
Dude, you weren't going into the paint because he was just gonna block everything. He was long. He was tenacious. He's a guy, like, I always make the case, and I know people get mad. I love Ben Wallace, but I hate that Ben Wallace is a Hall of Famer. And I'm like, so then why isn't Marc Eaton a Hall of Famer? Because I feel like he impacted the game defensively. I know what you're gonna say about him.
No. I look, I mean, and okay, this is not me being a Piston fan, because personally, I wouldn't put Ben Wallace is in because of the history. If he didn't win so many DPOYs and win a championship and make so many all-star teams, he wouldn't be in. And I still think, if anything, he's borderline. I personally would not have voted for him to be in the Hall of Fame. I just have a hard time arguing against it when he has 4 Defensive Player of the Year awards. Like, it's hard to say no when you look at a guy who's a multiple-time All-Star, a champion, and a multiple-time Defensive Player of the Year.
So that means Rudy's going to get in.
Unfortunately, Rudy is going to get in, especially being European, and the way they're pushing to make the game even more international. Rudy's going to get in because he's got so many awards, and 2 of them I don't think he deserved. But that's a whole.
He don't deserve any of them.
Yeah, I mean, I'm saying at least 2. You can't look at any of Ben's DPOYs and say he won the Defensive Player of the Year that year. So
maybe that's true. The point is, I don't understand what people don't understand. Rudy's a weak side shot blocker.
Yes.
He can't guard Jokic.
He can't guard anybody.
He can't guard Embiid.
He can't guard you right now.
That's not true.
No, I don't think he can.
I'm guaranteeing you he could.
I think if you put him out to the perimeter, you're blown by him.
Not today, man. I don't think I have that explosion anymore. But still, boom.
But he's going to go for every pump fake, and you're going to get the shot off over him. He's going to go for every pump fake.
Rudy, there's not many players that disgust me as much as Rudy does. Like, you see it, like, you look at him, he runs like a gazelle. And I know that if people actually gave him the ball more, he would score. Like, he might get in a routine of being able to score, but he misses too many layups. But this is defense. Okay, he's a weak side shot blocker.
Yeah,
that's what he is.
That's it.
He's a cleanup.
And if he's guarding you 1-on-1, he's not going to get a block face up. He never does. He's strictly a weak side shot blocker.
Right.
Um,
So
and
I think about
and he doesn't deter shots at the rim all that much because he's always coming from weak side. He's not challenging you like people coming down the lane trying to dunk on him. He's really not challenging those shots that much. It's like if he's not getting a weak side block, he's really not effective in
yeah.
any
I
way.
will say I don't want to sound like I'm defending him. Yeah. I will say that, of course, with the 5-out style of ball today, a lot of times he's being pulled away from the paint.
Okay,
Um,
so last year's playoffs, he somehow left on an island with Luka Doncic. If you're such a great defensive player and you're the defensive player of the year, and you get switched out on Luka Doncic, if you're the defensive player of the year, the first thing you should be doing is calling for a defender to come over because screw anybody else. You don't want their star player taking the shot. You know he's going to get the shot off over you. Get the other defender on there. You get back to the other guy. You know you can't guard him out there. You like come on. Like if you're
so
that good,
we would
you're that
have to
smart.
pretend that Rudy has like basketball IQ.
Again, if you're winning DPOY, you should have basketball IQ.
Yeah, that's a farce, man. I cry. So like I said, I love Ben Wallace. I was team Ben Wallace when he was with the Bullets. Like, he was a hustle guy, but he's an HBCU guy. So, I'm rolling. So even though I don't,
Unfortunately, his first highlight is Kobe's knee with chest.
yeah. But you got to start somewhere.
That's still my favorite Kobe dunk. That was filthy.
But yeah, but I can at least say I don't think he belongs, but I'm okay with it. But if Rudy gets in, man,
Rudy, he's a 4-time. He's a 4-time.
So
just like
Marc Eaton would have been a 4-time, but remember, like when they first came out with the whatchamacallit, the DPOY, it was going to guards every year. Michael Cooper, Alvin Robertson.
First two went to Sydney.
Yeah, Sydney, Michael Cooper, Alvin Robertson. Then Jordan got it, and they was like, "Hey, maybe we need to give it."
Well, Eaton got it. Eaton got it before Mike, but
yeah. But I'm just saying, it was like after Jordan, it feels like they were like, okay, center.
No.
They would.
No, because it was Mike, and then 89, I think it went back to a center. And then 90 was Dennis, and then 91 was Dennis. And then it went back to center.
Yeah. But I mean, it was like pretty much the same stuff. Like Dennis, to me, was the last guy up until, they let a couple of guards win. I'm mad that Drew Holiday has never won.
Me too.
Not one. He's one of the best defensive players I've ever seen in my life. And I'm putting him up there with Michael Cooper and like the Ben Wallaces, like all those guys. Like
he is all time defense.
A monster. He was locking up power forwards at 6'3", 6'4". So yeah, but Boo Rudy shouldn't top 10. So you're telling me there's ever a situation where you'd have Rudy instead of Alonzo Mourning?
Not me.
I'm gonna have to drink a fine glass of this Uncle Nearest whiskey I have after this.
And we still haven't mentioned the players that I feel that should be on.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next slide.
Boo Rudy.
Next slide. Next slide. At number 8 is the Admiral David Robinson. Number 7, the Big Dipper Wilt Chamberlain.
I have no issues with that, except for the guys that better be at. So we know what Wilt was. David Robinson is another one of those guys to me, even though he has rings, but people just pretend like it was all Tim Duncan. Mm-hmm. But he's another guy I don't think that gets the respect that he deserves. He was an amazing basketball player. He ran like a gazelle. And it's weird for somebody who had such a huge growth spurt to still maintain coordination.
That level of coordination, crazy.
Yeah. It's like he was like he ran like a guard, man. He was a pleasure to watch play basketball. So I'm okay with either one of these. I think David would be one of those guys. Like if you could time capsule him to today, I just feel like
Oh my God, who's stopping David today? Nobody.
Remember when he would catch that ball and face up and bink bink? Oh my gosh.
Nobody's stopping David today. All right. So
Except for his barber. He used to have some terrible haircuts.
Well, it's San Antonio. And he's a Navy man.
There you
go.
go.
So number 6, Dwight Howard.
Ooh.
Which my problem with this on this Dwight Howard on this list is I consider Dwight Howard to be a power forward. So I would not put Dwight on this list because
why you call he played center most of the time.
I consider him a power forward. He was a power forward playing
his
center.
Height?
No, he's a natural. He's a natural power forward.
Well, because he's 6'9". I get what you're saying, but he was.
And they had. I mean, there were times. Yes, there were a lot of times they had him playing center and listed him as such. But his game, everything, the way he was built, his style, everything was power forward. And all the times he had a center by him. I mean, he had Marcin Gortat, who was a true center.
What's the tall white guy that used to shoot on the perimeter, who was like 6'10", 6'11"?
Pat Garrity.
Pat Garrity, yeah.
Yeah.
So he did.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's a power forward. I get that he played just like I'm surprised I haven't seen. I'm kind of surprised. With another person that wasn't on this list because he played a lot of years at center. But I also consider that player a power forward. So it's like I don't know. That's just me. I know a lot of people consider Dwight a center. I just consider him a power forward. I don't have a problem with the number or the ranking on this list because of how great a player defensively he was. I would just put him on the power forward list.
So I will say this about Dwight. When he came to LA, and I watch every single Lakers game, I realized he was a low IQ player. He consistently, like, he bid on fakes. He got in foul trouble a lot. But one of the things, and I remember after watching it for so long and screaming and throwing stuff, and I remember Kobe looked at him. So he had this thing. He was so excited to go for the block. So, like, say I'm guarding you, like you're on the block, and I'm guarding you, and I got you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm in front of you. I'm about to just make it tough because that's what we're taught, right? Like,
make
it
tough.
hard. Don't foul them. Make it hard. So it's like when you get ready to shoot, Dwight would leave his man and come over to try to get the weak side block, and he wouldn't get the block, and the player would miss, and then Dwight's man would,
get the offensive rebound
and get the dunk or the layup. And it was like I watched it happen probably 70 times during that season before Kobe just turned around and looked at him. And it was that look that my dad gave me the time when I had brought like rocks and a lot of grass and stuff into my room because I was playing Star Wars. It was cold outside. And when they found it, it was that same look like, yeah, I don't know if I can help you, So, yeah, I did. So I always think about that, like, because we've seen it. You remember back in the day, Patrick Ewing had to learn how to play without getting in foul trouble. Shaq definitely had to learn. Alonzo, like all the centers, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Dwight really learned how to do that. It just, the league stopped having centers, which made it easier for him.
Yeah.
But so as good as he was, like, there's still, like, for him to be this high on the list, I need like discipline, like the guy that's beside him. You know what I'm saying? That played like fundamental, solid, disciplined defense. And we know especially when he was wearing that Bucks uniform, we know the type of athleticism that he had and just that like super duper high IQ.
Exactly. And for those listening and not watching, number 5
Mr. Alcindor
is the former Lou Alcindor, Mr. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who I don't believe we need to get into his accolades and how great defensively he is, because to me, if we're talking all of basketball, a basketball career, high school, college, and professional that gets you to the Hall of Fame, he is the GOAT if we're talking about all of those.
Yeah. No question. Now I'm trying to think. So Kareem is at 5. So I'm trying.
You're trying to wonder who's the top 4.
Well, I know 2 of them that'll have to be there. There should be 1 and 2. But him, I don't think he should be as high as he's going to be, but he was a great defender. And then I'm drawing a blank.
So who are you guessing?
So I know Bill Russell's got to be there. I know Dream has to be there.
Okay.
I'm thinking Dikembe, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Jeek.
Which I don't know if I have him. I could see that. But then I'm trying to figure out who's the other one. And I know I'm going to know who it is. I just can't think right now.
Okay. All right. Well, you know who it is because you were just talking about him. So number 4, we have Dikembe Mutombo. And number 3, we have Ben Wallace. We know you think Ben's too high.
I think Ben's too high. I think I was thinking.
You think Deke's too high?
I think they're both too high.
But again, I get it because again, we're talking about these guys with the 4-time DPOIs, and both of them have it.
So I can understand it if you're going off the awards. I think that as good as Dikembe was, there was also parts on the floor where you could exploit him. Stuff like the pick and roll. After his first couple of years, he was a little bit still spry and nimble early on, but we're like Ben. So my thing with Ben,
I'm going to defend Ben with this because there's one thing about Ben that's unique here that none of these other players were able to do. Ben Wallace is the only person on this list that could guard. He couldn't guard every single one, but he could guard 1 through 5.
And he could guard a lot of ones. And that's what
I remember watching the Pistons and the Magic in the playoffs and him picking Darrell Armstrong's pocket for a fast break dunk. You ain't going to see another center pick a point guard's pocket that clean probably ever again. He had the quickness, the agility to stay in front of a lot of point guards, almost every shooting guard, pretty much every small forward, and definitely every power forward and center. He's the only one on this list that was strong enough to defend the bigs, agile and quick enough to defend guards. One of the few players, period, who could legitimately guard 1 through 5. So that's why I defend Ben's placement on this list so high because of that defensive ability, period.
And that is fair. I also look at it like if he's one of the not all these guys could defend today because they could, the game is so much different.
True.
So I would give him that too. I do. So this is weird. So when you have some of these two-way, so look at somebody like Kareem, who up until recent
last year, with the all-time league scorer.
So the guys that were able to perform at a high level offense and then still be great on defense, to me, I always put them over, but that's not what we're talking about here.
Right.
It's not about who's the better player. It's about better defense.
Their defensive prowess. Exactly.
So, So I look at...
Because, again, better player, Kareem clears everybody close.
There's not...
And the only person it's close to would be Dream, and Dream is still not in that conversation. Dream is not in the GOAT conversation.
Maybe Wilt, too. Don't...
It may be Wilt, but to me, Wilt didn't win enough for the GOAT conversation.
That's always...
That's always the thing.
But I'm not and I love Dikembe.
Me too.
But
I wouldn't put Deke over Wilt, man.
No.
I wouldn't.
No. But he's a great man. Love that dude. So.
All right, and the last two you already mentioned. Number 2, Hakeem Olajuwon, and number 1, Bill Russell.
Bill Russell only has one for all defensive team. That's because they didn't have the.
Because it wasn't a thing.
Right. They didn't even have DPOS. I mean, I don't know what's. So
it's to me. These guys aren't debatable.
No, I'm just trying to figure out. My debate is who's number 1 and who's number 2.
See, I personally, I would flip them only because Bill did play in the no more than 3 Negroes per team era. So I don't. Bill didn't get a lot of his career against all of the very best players, and obviously you had other leagues existing at that time as well. People forget how many leagues were going on at that time. So all of the top talent wasn't in the NBA during that time
Right.
either. So not only
They had 8 teams, like
8 teams, not all the best players were there. You had the segregation issues. You had about 3 or 4 other professional leagues that were around the country. Um, it just you didn't. It wasn't all the top talent like you
right,
have post merger. Where
that's a dream. Like one night it's Rick Schmitz, the next night it could be Shaq,
well,
Patrick Ewing, David Robinson.
so that's
Like
that's so
every
that
team had a center.
So that's why I give the edge to Dream, because not again, and not that Bill didn't play against some. Obviously, he played against Wilt. Not that he didn't play in Wilt and Walt
Wilt was
Bellamy.
putting up 90 on him though, and he was still.
But it's
But
something.
they would win.
But it's only Bill didn't play against top offensive
Yeah, no, I
talent.
get you.
But it's the gauntlet for Dream's career, because most of the time we talk about those '90s centers, but people forget he played against Cap in the '80s.
Cap did put like 40 on him and Ralph.
Right.
He was like 38.
Yeah, exactly. So he played Cap. He played Bill
Played
Walt. He played
Parrish.
He played Bill Walton. He played Robert Parrish. He played
Moses.
Moses. Marc, obviously Marc we mentioned. And then obviously the Patrick Ewings, the Shaquille O'Neals, the Alonzo Mournings,
and also
the Dikembe Mutombos. Like every team's, and also even your unsung guys who were, your Jack Sigmas,
that was getting it.
That was getting it. Your
that's what I was saying.
Your Tom, your Tom Chamberses, your Bill Lambiers, your guys who were good or weren't, the upper echelon or highly touted guys. Your Rick Smiths, like your Sam Perkinses, like you had so many guys out there that he had to contend with on a nightly basis. Your Vin Bakers, he had to
and then think about, like, even in the playoffs. So you were beating David Robinson, then you were going to the East and playing against Shaq and playing against Patrick Ewing. Like he's beating top 10 centers of all time.
Right. And then because of his agility, sometimes he's playing the power forward too. So so in the West, he's dealing with Shawn Kemp, he's dealing with Karl Malone and Mark Heaton, and then Karl Malone and Thurl Bailey / Greg Ostertag, etc. Then he's dealing with Barkley and Barkley and Chambers and Oliver Miller, all on that same '93 team. He's dealing with obviously in the East. You had
Michael
Ewing. Oh, Michael Candy.
I just had to make a joke. I'm sorry.
Michael Candy. But in the East, you had young Shaq, you had Alonzo, but in the West, Brad Daugherty. People forget how good Brad was, and Deke was in Denver at that time. You had you had Patrick with the Knicks. Like you had all these teams, pretty much every top contending team outside of Detroit had a big time center, and Bill Lambier was no slouch. So
and let's just look at this. These little. This ain't everything, but first all time in blocks, 8th in defensive rebounds, and number 10 all time in steals. Like that's, and I'm sure somebody will pass that, but that's insane.
And it was, and he wasn't like people like, oh well, Jokic gets a lot of steals, yeah, but his steals were not passing lane steals a lot like Jokic's, because we know Jokic ain't guarding nobody.
Dream used to take that.
Dream would take that thing from you.
Give me. Are you putting it on the ground? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Like, you think you're gonna dribble by me? No, thank you. Like no. So
I could see, flip flopping.
We forgot to mention. Oh no, I think we said Moses. But like, there are so many players that he had to play against that just
Yeah.
it's a murderer's row. So that's why I give him the edge
And then
because he played against so
Alonzo
many.
came in. Like,
Yeah,
dude, there was centers everywhere.
everywhere. Absolutely.
So yeah, I now on the reverse side of that, like
Okay.
if
So
you're just going off of what Bill did on the court, like he was clearly like a defensive maniac.
well,
But
so Bill was focused on defense because they couldn't have him be the offensive star.
right
So he got to put so much energy into
into
defense and running the floor.
hmm
You know, you know. It's
But yeah, I think I would flip. I think I would flip them.
I would flip him too. That's just me.
I just like Dream. So I tell people because I always get in arguments with one of my homeboys about Dream versus Shaq, and Dream is the better fundamental basketball player. Dream is the guy that you teach kids. You take kids and you say, "Look at this tape."
Right.
If you
Watch
want to
this.
play center,
Right.
but I still feel like Shaq is like once Shaq got to the point, like 97, 98, like you couldn't. There was nothing that you could do with him. But I just think, yeah, Dream is like textbook. Every single thing. The only thing that he has that you can't teach was like his heart and his like bravery. Like remember, he was starting at center. Ralph Sampson was playing the power forward.
No,
And
they had him at power forward.
no, I actually got an argument and lost that. A lot
Really?
of the time Hakeem was listed as the center because Hakeem was still on the block. Remember, Ralph could extend, you know what I'm saying, and play on the elbow like everywhere else. But remember what he did in '86 to the Celtics. And I know the Celtics won that finals, but
Oh
Dream,
yeah, you're right. They have him listed as
yeah, I remember when I
time.
lose because I was like, nah, hell nah. And
Because
then
I remember every basketball card from I had it. It's always said power forward center.
yeah,
So I thought yeah they got him at center.
and I like even when I look at the games, like when they played against the Lakers, a lot of the time he was the one that was matched up with Kareem.
Yeah.
We didn't mention Ralph, but Ralph
Defensively he wasn't.
No, but I'm just saying like overall, like if he doesn't get hurt, he's revolutionizing the game.
Oh my god, yeah.
It was like weird.
So I have a couple names that weren't on this list that
Mm-hmm.
I think some people they would be on this list that some people I just don't like on this list. All right, so obviously we both have issues with Rudy Gobert. We both have issues with Marc Gasol. Here are some names that I believe. Okay, first name I'm going to give I believe deserves a mention. It's debatable because he's an older player. He's from that Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain era. But Hall of Famer Walt Bellamy, who's the third best center of his era, just behind Russell and Wilt, offensively better than Russell, and arguably could say he's a better player because Russell was so defensive focused. Walt Bellamy was a beast.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we don't have because he wasn't the star that Russell and Wilt were. He does not get much notoriety, but I believe Walt Bellamy deserves mention.
Yeah.
Number two, a player I have that I definitely believe should be on this list. And you mentioned him briefly when we talked about that murderer's row that Hakeem had to defend. Where's Robert Parrish? How was Robert Parrish not on this list? I don't understand that. Another Celtic that I don't understand how they're not on this list is Dave Cowens. How is Dave Cowens not on this list? You telling me that freaking Marc Gasol is a better defender than Dave Cowens? I don't think so.
Nah, not in any kind of way, man.
Not in any kind of way.
I feel like they didn't want to give LeBron DPOI, even though there were other people that were also great defensively that year. But yeah, Marcus, nah. I'm with you.
But no, I mean, again, I still think Marc was the best defensive player that year. But even so, he's not a better defender than Dave Cowens or Robert Parrish.
Nope.
Like, he's not. And then
Robert don't get close to the amount of credit.
Like
he had Danny Ainge and Larry Bird that he had to clean up for. Like, and he don't be getting credit. Him or DJ.
And also, like, he was cleaning up for McHale too, because like as great as McHale was, he wasn't the greatest defender. So he was cleaning up pretty much for everybody but DJ.
Yeah.
If we keep it real. And then I threw one homer pick in there. I threw Bill Laimbeer in there because it's fun. I would not put
Bill. Defense, man. That's called assault and battery, though.
Right. Obviously, get it right. I wouldn't put Bill Laimbeer in a top 20. But Walt Bellamy, Bill Laimbeer, Walt Bellamy, Dave Cowens, and Robert Parrish, yeah, I would. I could easily take out Gasol. I could easily, and nothing against Noah, but I could swap him out too. You know, a lot of these lower guys, I'd be like, yeah, you're not better than those guys.
Yeah. I feel like somebody else is missing. I can't think of right now.
Oh, yes, there's another person. I'm sorry. I have one more person on my list. Hold on. Where's my list now? Where'd my list go? Darn it, I thought I had another person. Oh, I typed in 4. Okay. There's somebody else in my mind that I'm like, I feel like I'm missing somebody. But those 3 to me are egregious.
Yeah. I don't know why. I'm glad Robert Parrish made it into the Hall of Fame, but I really don't know. Like, he's one of the first people I remember, like one of the first centers that would pick and pop instead of rolling. And him and Bird were running that pick and pop, and he was scratching your eyes out from 15 feet.
Yes, he was.
I always could count on him, like, for a bucket if you needed it. They just had a lot of offense. But
I mean, people forget, like, when they made the playoffs in, I think it was 92 93 after Bird was gone, he was the best player on the team because McHale's foot was, was bad, was so messed up. I mean, he led them to the playoffs, with McHale next to him and a young Reggie Lewis. Like, he was their best player.
And it felt great because not only was he from the city I was living in at the time, but it also just felt great because he was such a good, like, he did what was needed, like, all the time on the court. And then for him to actually be like the go-to guy now, it was a beautiful thing to see. It's like watching him get his flowers.
Yeah, it was him getting his just due. Absolutely.
Then he went on to get another one with the Bulls.
Now, another player I'll mention, and I didn't put him initially on my list because he spent a lot of time in the ABA. But if he had spent his entire career in the NBA, he would definitely be on my list, and that would be Artis Gilmore.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Big
I used
artist,
to be
man.
Scared to death. I used to think Artis Gilmore was going to, like, walk in my room and, like, dunk on me or something, man. That was a big, strong man, like
big, strong, athletic man. That man was
athletic too. Because you see, like, they got the pictures of him with his head on the rim, and, like, dude, he was just come out there with the gold chains on and wreck your life. And he was strong. Like, we were doing a mock draft some years ago, and I was like trying to find somebody that could, that I feel like might be able to stand up with Shaq one-on-one. And the only people I could think of is like Artis and Wilt. Like, that could just, like, no help.
Strength wise, I think Dawkins could have done a good job. It's just strength wise. Obviously, basketball IQ, defensive prowess,
and height also, because Daryl was like 6'9", right?
No, Daryl was 6'11".
Oh, he was?
Yeah, Daryl Dawkins 6'11". No, he used to live. He used to live here.
No, I believe you.
No, because he used to live here. I would see him at the grocery store all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, yeah, this man is massive. Like
And
Chocolate
his,
Thunder was massive.
and his athleticism, like
Yeah, he was another freaking. And
putting it.
we forgot to mention Caldwell Jones.
I thought about Caldwell, but I remember Caldwell getting, ate up a lot.
Oh, that's because he was getting ate up by Kareem.
Kareem used to have that man in shambles.
He sure did, man. But
I still remember I remember Moses. Like that's the only person I've seen that like kind of dominated Kareem.
Or destroyed Kareem. Oh yeah.
Was Moses in '83.
Yeah.
But I don't think.
But actually no. But because the year, what was it? That other year that Moses got Houston into the. I mean, they got him in the conference finals.
That was that 81?
Yeah, when he got into the conference finals, and he was giving it to Kareem. Like they lost, but he was giving it to him.
Yeah, but it's different. Like when they beat the brakes off,
yeah,
because you might be getting off, but we playing team ball and we winning.
Yeah,
but when they stomp a mud hole in you too,
yeah.
And I hated it because I actually liked the Sixers, but I wasn't. My dad was like, "Nah, man, you got to pick sides." I thought Doc was like the greatest thing. Him and Magic, but yeah.
Yeah, so all in all, not a bad list.
Yeah.
Imperfect, but not a bad list. But just to me, leaving off Bellamy, and maybe you can leave him off because they're not familiar with him. But no Cowens and no Parrish to me is egregious. And I wouldn't leave Bellamy off personally. But
and Rudy, I mean, I get it. I like I said, this is the centerless era. There's only like 3 centers, and all 3 of them will dog the hell out of Rudy. Like they do it,
they do it regularly.
So it's like, what are we talking about? Like,
yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think the list is solid. I think I would put Dream number 1, just because of versatility and degree of difficulty. I think is a good way to say it.
Yeah, I put Dream number 1 for that as well, because of the versatility, but also the stats that he accumulated, which is why he's above Ben Wallace, because Ben Wallace is a little bit more versatile, but he did not accumulate the stats that Dream was able to.
Yeah, but also to Bill and Will, like they weren't,
they didn't have. Yeah, they weren't counting, and also for Walt Bellamy, they weren't counting blocks until like their last couple years. Like it was Walt's last season where they were counting blocks and steals.
So I can only imagine when Bill Russell out there with a bunch of unathletic white fellas, he's probably getting 30 blocks a game.
Yeah, and
because you see how many rebounds they were getting.
Insane. So, yeah,
I'm pretty sure they was getting like 10 blocks a game.
Yeah, and Will was throwing everything everywhere.
Yeah, and remember before like the goaltending rules and all that kind of stuff, like they were fighting all kinds of stuff. So
that's why Will's the only person I've ever seen block the skyhook, because he
didn't worry about the
he didn't worry about the goaltending rule was different then.
Yeah, so in the offense, I always got to tell the whippersnappers they didn't have offensive goaltending either. So. Imagine you come down, hit somebody with a quick little 2-step, get some space, pull up and shoot a jumper, and it could be going in, and then Walt could come out of nowhere and
catch it and put it in. Yep.
And it's his point.
Yep.
Like, yeah, we would have been fighting. I would have lost because that's a big dude. But
taking the ball off the rim, like, and that's still a FIBA rule. Like, taking the ball off the rim. Like, I don't understand how European teams score off of us when you can take the ball off the rim.
Right.
When we have the athletes we have. But that's a talk.
And they can play zone all the time.
Yeah. Like
I would just have a big Rudy or somebody stand under the goal and swipe everything.
Swipe everything. Yeah. Like I don't get it. I don't get it.
I wouldn't have Rudy on my team though, because boo.
Well, that's discussion for another time. All right. Folks, that's going to be it for this episode of Fanalysis 101. thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening. We have such a good time doing this, and we hope you're enjoying it as well. Because we're not going to call our show boring, because it's not. Um, and we hope you feel the same. We love to hear if you feel the same. Please leave us, a review on your favorite podcasting app of choice. Please share this, and any favorite episode or clip from Fanalysis 101 with your communities out there on the social networks. You can find us on Spotify, Good Pods, Apple Podcasts, and others. And we would love to hear and on the socials what you think of our breakdown of this list, our inaugural, proposed 12-man one-on-one contest for the NBA. We want to hear your thoughts on all those things. We want to hear your thoughts on Diana Taurasi and etc. We want to hear your feedback on our episodes. So please, continue to listen, share, and subscribe. And until next time, peace.
Peace.